We've entered a new era. Welcome to Jurassic World.
That was a fucking lie. Jurassic World Dominion hit theaters this past weekend, bringing us into a world where dinosaurs now live and hunt alongside humans, creating a new fragile balance between the two species, or at least that's what the synopsis read. But before I probably start with my review for Jurassic World Dominion, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. This review is very late, so I'm sure you've seen it by now, and if you love movies and TV, this is the place to be, so consider clicking that subscribe button so you don't miss any future conversation on your favorite movies and TV. And right off the bat, from Fallen Kingdom, a film I was never a big fan of. It always just felt like filler to open the doors for something like Dominion. I was always excited coming into Dominion because the idea itself is rich, it's interesting, it's compelling, there's so much to explore, it's big in scale and scope. Plus, this is the finale. This is bringing the two sides of the Jurassic franchise to a close, closing out this brand new trilogy that started with Jurassic World and bringing in the original characters from Jurassic Park. So I was nothing but excited coming into this film, and as the film begins, it lets you into this incredibly fresh, exciting new world with so much to explore, with this report that's catching you up on the 4 years that have passed since the ending of Fallen Kingdom, and the world is entirely restructured. Dinosaurs have spread across the entire globe. Ecosystems, big and small, have been restructured. The food chain is completely different. We have come to get reacquainted with our way of life now that we have to live with these creatures. And it's spectacular how the film opens and brings you into this world that the end of Fallen Kingdom promised us. The ending of this film, without spoiling anything, also pays some lip service to the incredibly rich themes and fresh ideas and interesting points of view that this film could have explored, but this film doesn't explore that. If you're going into any film wanting it to fulfill the promise of the premise, Jurassic World Dominion doesn't do that. The very thing it promised to deliver, it completely dismisses it, leaves it to the side, leaves it in the background, and explores a lot of other ideas that are very much small scale and are jumbled and are confused in terms of tone, in terms of structure. This film almost feels like it has an identity crisis, where the dinosaurs are there, but they're always in the background, and it's a real shame, and it's very underwhelming. Don't get me wrong, you see the dinosaurs in this film. They are there, they are present, and when they come to the forefront, it's kind of the film I always wanted to see, but the film completely disregards its starting point. There are glimpses at this interesting world where we live together with dinosaurs. One of the opening sequences of the film has Claire and one of the characters from the last film rescuing this baby dino from these poachers, setting it free into the world. There's a sequence in Malta where our characters have to go through this black market sort of place, and you have people selling dinosaurs, cooking dinosaurs, having illegal fights with dinosaurs, illegally trafficking dinosaurs. That's interesting, but the story is never about that. The focus is never on that. Even the giant dinosaur of this film, the Gigantosaurus, I believe that's the name that they've touted, that it's the big villain, it's kind of the Joker of this film, even though that makes no sense, doesn't get presented at all until 90 minutes into the film. It becomes an afterthought. Like the dinosaurs in general, the most you see of dinosaurs, it's in this enclosed environment that this corrupt corporation has created. Ever since they broke out, they've gathered a few specimens of each species and put them in this safe habitat. That's alright, but it's just Jurassic Park again, so again, you go kind of against the premise of this film. And by the time you get the giant dinosaur sequences, and you do have a giant dinosaur versus dinosaur fight at the end, which I'm not going to spoil, the film has spent so much time on other stuff and has done such a lazy job at conveying tone and threat and tension and suspense that when you get to these supposed exhilarating sequences that are fun to watch, but you don't feel anything. They ring hollow because you don't feel the film has earned any of its supposed threat. There's one sequence there is intense and it's shot beautifully and it has the right amount of score. The performance in that moment by Bryce Dallas Howard is spectacular, and that is after the scene that you see in the trailer where their plane is attacked and she has to drop off with her seat and turn on the parachute and all that. She gets lost in the middle of the forest with dinosaurs. That is a terrifying scene. I wanted that with dinosaurs set all over the world. But the film is never about that, unfortunately. In fact, the film is about a whole bunch of other things except that. That isn't to say that there isn't fun to be had in this film. Once we get to the inhabitant of the dinosaurs, our characters fall into there, it all starts to converge. It's extremely fun. There are some really fun action sequences. This is obviously a big budget studio film, so the effects are spectacular. The film looks great. Do you feel any stakes? Do you feel any emotion? Do you feel any attachment to any of these characters? Any of the stories that are going on? No. But it is weightless, disposable fun. It's like a roller coaster. You're going to enjoy it while you're there. As soon as you're going to be out, you're going to forget about it. Because that's the kind of film that was constructed here. Something you don't really care about. There is just fun to be had, even in the most silly moments. The jokes themselves are good. They just feel they are not in the right place. They're not where they belong. Seeing our original characters, our original trio, so much fun. It's a joyous smile on your face. Ian Malcolm has some spectacular one-liners in this film where he starts to point out all the ridiculous things he sees. It almost feels like it's Jeff Goldblum, not Ian Malcolm pointing it out, but Ian Malcolm at his best was peak Jeff Goldblum, so it really fits. So again, this is a film that absolutely betrays the promise of its premise. And the dinosaurs matter so little and are on screen in significant ways so little, then when they actually are on screen, it's a moment to cherish. It's a moment to cherish seeing these characters once more interact with dinosaurs because it feels like it has been so long, not only since the last movie, but in this entire film. When we finally get to be lost in the jungles, feels repetitive, yes, but it's fun. Doesn't really matter, you don't connect emotionally, but it is a simple B-monster movie and a summer blockbuster at that, and in that it satisfies enough. At least in the dinosaurs part. Everything else, we got a lot to talk about. For the first hour of the film, I was blown away by the choices made. I just couldn't believe this was the direction everything was going in. It all felt so made up at the last minute. There are so many storylines set up in the first hour of the film, and as I'm about to name them, you'll notice that none of them are about dinosaurs. Further emphasizing the point that the dinosaurs could be any animal. The scene with Owen getting chased in a motorcycle by raptors in Malta could be cheetahs. It'd be the same thing. One of the stories is Owen and Claire trying to raise Maisie in seclusion. Now that people know the truth about the dinosaurs, now that people know the truth about her being a clone, there's nothing interesting explored with that, but it'd be an interesting family drama. Then there's this massive story about corporate corruption and greed with locusts. yeah, locusts are the real main threat in this film, and that's what brings Ellie Sattler and Alan Grant and Ian Malcolm into the fold as they try to infiltrate Biosyn, which is this corporation run by Dodgson from the original film, the guy that mates with Nedry.
Dodgson! Dodgson! We've got Dodgson here! See, nobody cares.
Played by Campbell Scott in a really weird way. I never knew if I was supposed to laugh at him or feel threatened by him. But everything is just so underwhelming, where all these stories just feel kind of almost disconnected. And you keep questioning as the film unfolds, like, really, this is what we're doing? Ellie Sattler, paleobotanist, she's being brought into this because she wants to uncover the truth behind this corrupt corporation. Alan Grant is being brought with her because he misses her, he's in love with her, and because he'll give credibility to the truth if she brings it out. Alan Grant, the world's greatest paleontologist, is being brought in here to reveal the truth about a greedy corporation, but we get no exploration about his point of view in regards to the dinosaurs being set on the world. Nothing exciting or fearful from his part. He delivers nothing that adds to the story. None of these characters do. These characters are here to put a smile on your face, and they do. Every time Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, they're on screen, and when they're on screen together, it's awesome. It's so much fun to watch, which is what happens for most of the second half of the film, and that's where the film elevates itself a little bit. But that's what they're here to do, to put a smile on your face. There's nothing about them that delivers any sort of commentary or insight or explores a contrasting point of view about dinosaurs being set loose on the world. They're being brought into this film because of locusts and corporate corruption. It's underwhelming. It's terribly underwhelming. It feels unnecessary. It feels forced that these people are not involved again with the dinosaurs whatsoever or interested. They don't comment on it whatsoever. There's a scene where Ellie pets the baby Triceratops that you kind of can assume it's the same Claire saved early on, but that's really it. Even the thing that ties the two franchises together, it's not the dinosaurs. It's this big corrupt corporation that kidnaps Maisie and Blue's baby. That itself starts to create this bond with Maisie, but that also never gets explored. It's presented, and then the baby raptor just disappears and comes back whenever the script needs it. And that's a big problem here. Things just happen because it feels like the script needs it. It never feels organic. It always feels clunky and jumbled. And that goes back a little bit to the tone. We have a little bit of family drama. We have a little bit of corporate corruption. Then we have this kind of awkward comedy between two old friends. One of them is kind of in love with the other, but can't really say it. Then there's this third friend back from the old trio that is kind of this womanizing ladies' man and is very comfortable and leaves the other one uncomfortable. It's kind of all these genres, this family drama, this awkward comedy, and then you even have a plotline that involves the CIA, and that leads us to Malta, where it kind of feels like a Bourne movie that just happens to have dinosaurs. This film feels entirely confusing, and that's what's so disheartening about it. It doesn't feel like everything we have been building towards was this. So even when our characters are brought together, it leads into a really fun scene where we see a dinosaur coming to attack them, and they all have their way of dealing with dinosaurs, but it feels like it just happens. It doesn't feel earned. Nothing in this film feels earned, and once we get those dinosaur sequence with both our franchise groups together, it feels more like fan fiction. With the tone, again, a little bit all over the place, where our original trio does not bring their skill sets or their interests or their passions into the story whatsoever. They're here to be here. They don't really contribute to anything. And the franchise players of this trilogy, I think Claire had something really interesting going in this film, and Bryce Dallas Howard is spectacular, particularly in that scene I mentioned, where she wants to raise this kid, and that's a grand evolution from where she started, where she didn't even want to spend the day with her kids, and now she's doing everything she can to save Maisie. That's a big character arc. While Chris Pratt, as much as I love him as Owen, he's just there to be a cool action hero. The biggest character development this guy goes through is doing this to raptors with his right hand, and he eventually does it with the left hand. And it's frustrating that in this film, they forgot that that is a symbol of the bond he created with his raptors. In this film, he does it to basically any dinosaur that shows up in front of him. And so it's a film that feels like it was entirely written last minute, like it didn't know what it wanted to do, it didn't know what it wanted to be, it didn't know what these characters were there to do, nor was it interested to explore that. I have to reiterate that there is fun to be had with this film. The opening and the ending are great when our franchise players are brought together. It's a really fun roller coaster ride. But you forget it immediately as soon as you're off, because it feels like fanfiction. It feels weightless. The sense of stakes throughout the film is so vague, you don't really feel like the film earns to put anyone in real danger. So even when our characters are in front of a dinosaur, you don't really feel like they could die. You don't really feel like it's going to happen. You just figure they're going to find a way, because the tone is a little bit all over the place. There are sequences where characters are being chased by dinosaurs. They're literally trapped against a rock and a hard place, the hard place being a dinosaur, and someone else is throwing jabs and puns and jokes, and so you're not really sure how to feel. And it's frustrating throughout this entire film. It's frustrating that the film is so confused about what it wants to do with its story, with its character, with its incredibly promising world, where it was right there. We were headed in this one direction, and the film threw us completely into another one. Much more small scale, much more weightless in terms of stakes, and much more nonsensical, if I'm honest. Jurassic World Dominion is a perfectly watchable, even if jumbled and clunky globe-trotting adventure. It's just a shame that this is the peak of such a beloved franchise that at this point feels more akin to fanfiction. The characters, the fans, and the dinos deserved better. I'm giving Jurassic World Dominion a C. But those are only my thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. But those are only my thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. I hope you enjoy it more than I did. Big thank you for watching this video, and big thanks to my channel members for always supporting the channel. And I'll be back very soon with more videos, and I hope to see you in those. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.